Hello. Today, you will hear a story about a man's revenge. Jason was an ordinary guy dreaming of true love and a perfect marriage. But despite the fact that he was quite attractive and successful, his previous relationships did not bring him happiness. He constantly encountered girls who were more into just having fun and didn't appreciate him as a person. He even began to become disillusioned with love and relationships. But one day, Jason met a young girl at his friend's party. Her name was Laura. She was beautiful, very confident, and charming, and at the same time turned out to be very popular. She ran several blogs on social media. Jason felt a strong attraction to her at first sight. Even though his disappointments in the past were weighing on his mind, he still decided to approach her and get to know her. It was like a gift from fate. With each passing day, Jason became convinced that Laura was the girl he had always been looking for. Laura turned out to be caring, romantic, quite serious about the relationship, and she liked Jason too. From that time on, they started dating, spending a lot of time together enjoying each other. Jason proposed to Laura and she agreed to marry him. They were married in a lavish wedding to which all their friends and family were invited. Jason was on top of his happiness and felt that his dreams of true love and a perfect marriage had finally come true. A year after the wedding, Jason already had his own firm. And he had to spend a lot of time at work. At the same time, his cousin Rob came to visit him from a long voyage. Since they hadn't seen each other for a long time and Rob had no place to stay, Jason offered to stay with him. The house was big and spacious and there was plenty of room for everyone. And Laura wouldn't be bored waiting for her husband from work on lonely evenings. "Bro, I'm not going to bother you. Come on, old man. We haven't seen each other in ages." Jason answered he was sure of Laura and Rob wasn't young anymore. Plus the cousins didn't have siblings and had spent a lot of time together before and had never let each other down. After a couple of months, however, Jason began to notice some changes in Laura. She didn't always return his calls. She didn't seem to greet him from work with as genuine a smile as before. He calmed himself that it was because he spent so much time at work. But he wanted to give his beloved the best of everything. Laura didn't deny herself anything. "Honey, let's do a weekend trip somewhere. Where would you like to go?" "I could do a few weekends. I know you've been lonely lately. We could fall around like we used to." Jason decided to stir up the romance a little. "Yeah, that's a great idea. But you know Rob is so much fun. He doesn't let me get bored. It's good that you let him stay with us." "Yes." And yet, Jason caught himself jealous. "What are we discussing here?" Rob barged into the living room where the husband and wife were secluded. "Yeah. I'd like to go out sometime, remember romance, and have some fun. So why don't we just have a party?" Rob suggested. "Why? It's not bad, really." Laura encouraged. Jason loved Laura so much that he decided to please her, and it was decided to throw a party for the weekend. On the day of the party, he decided to arrive early, bought his wife a bouquet and decided to give her a nice surprise. He heard someone stirring in the kitchen. He thought it was Laura getting ready, and he wanted to sneak up unnoticed from behind and catch her in his arms. Taking a few steps and peering through the doorway, Jason was shocked by what he saw. Laura, his beloved Laura, was cuddling with Rob. With a cousin who had been his brother, faithful and loyal all these years. It was as if time had stopped. The picture went black and white. All thought swam in her brain. How could she? He wanted to stop them to make a scandal. But the shock of what he saw was so strong that he could not drop a word. So he just turned around and walked out of the house, throwing the bouquet on the way to the hallway counter. Laura and Rob were so engrossed that they didn't notice Jason standing in the doorway for a few seconds. Jason himself, meanwhile, feeling no ground beneath his feet, went to the bar. He was shattered. He didn't know what to do. He felt that his dreams and ideals had been shattered, and he was alone. He couldn't understand how his wife could have betrayed him like that. He decided to avenge their betrayal, but not right away. After a few drinks, he still decided to go home. The party was over. Laura was acting like nothing had happened. Jason tried not to show his depression and sadness. "Buddy, you're not yourself today," Rob remarked. "I'm just a little tired," Jason said indifferently, mentally telling his relative to go to hell. "You know what? I got a proposition for you. How much longer are you going to be on the sea?" "Yes. I know you like the sea, but I have a good job at my firm. Think about the future, a good salary, and maybe you'll get married." "Why? I can try. Bro. You already helped me not to stay on the street. If my parents were alive, I'd go see them. But you're my brother. And I really appreciate it." Yeah, Jason thought. Well, the fishing pole is cast. A few more months passed. During this time, Jason kept Rob with him at work, thus preventing Laura and Rob from meeting alone. He gave him the position of CFO. He also talked him into moving out and getting himself a decent apartment. Everyone seemed happy. One evening, there was a knock on Rob's apartment. He was sitting in a chair at the time, sipping whiskey after a day's work and listening to soft music. Reluctantly, he went to the door. "Who's there?" Rob asked, puzzled when he saw a man in plain clothes and two policemen through the peephole. "Open up. It's the police. We have some questions for you." Unsuspecting Rob opened the door. "Rob Milton." A man in plain clothes asked, showing his badge. "Yeah. What's up?" Two policemen immediately grabbed him, putting their hands behind his back. The whiskey glass fell out of his hand and onto the floor. Rob couldn't understand what was wrong. After all, he'd never broken the law, never even had a parking ticket. "I'm Quinn Brooks, Fraud Squad. You're being held on suspicion of missing a large sum of money. You have the right to a defense and to an attorney. Anything you say can be used against you in a court of law." "What's going on? What's going on?" "It's not my fault," Rob shouted, but the cops were dragging him away under his arms and his attempt to break free was not successful. "Let me call Jason." Rob was brought to the station. They interrogated him for a long time, told him that a large sum of money was missing from the firm, and that he was the prime suspect. He kept talking back and proving that he was innocent. It never occurred to him what had really happened. He was given a phone call. The call was addressed to Jason. Rob wanted to ask him if he knew anything about the situation and if he could help. But Jason didn't answer the call. At the time, he was in his office, sprawled out in his chair and leaning on one armrest, watching the news online reporting on a financial scam at his firm and the arrest of the main suspect. The footage showed his bewildered cousin being brought into the station. The phone buzzed on the desk, the number flashing Rob. But Jason didn't even reach for the phone. A sinister smoke on his face. Laura continued her blogs. They were very important to her. One day, she received a message from a stranger. "He knows." The message seemed strange and alarming. Something even twitched inside. But since Laura's popularity was only growing, she thought it was just some fanatic playing around, so she just deleted the message. But a week later, the stranger made himself known again. "He knows. He knows everything." The message said. What on earth was that? Laura wanted to delete the message again, but it came up again and again until the whole page was filled with the message. She was horrified. The thought of her and Rob flashed through her mind. Had Jason really found out? But how? Why hadn't he said anything then? And who wrote those letters anyway? Maybe Jason himself? Everyone will know about you. A new message came in. Laura jumped up from her chair. She valued her reputation so much, and she knew that information on the networks about her infidelity would just ruin her life. She knew she could lose everything, her career, and the husband she loved. Despite the betrayal, Laura continued to love Jason. Her hands trembled and her legs buckled. Grabbing the phone, she began dialing her husband. She frantically wondered what to say, how to begin. "Hello?" A quiet, calm voice came through on the other end of the line. "Hello? Laura, is that you? Why aren't you talking? Hello? Why? Yes," answered Laura, stammering. "Honey, I wanted to ask you, how are you doing?" "I'm doing great." "Are you excited about something?" "No. No. You imagined it." For a moment, the anxiety receded. "When will you be home?" "I was just about to call you that I couldn't make it back today. I have an emergency business trip. I'm flying out of the office tonight, so don't miss me, honey." Jason's voice was calm, but cold at the same time. And Laura could feel it. She was beginning to realize that a stupid mistake from the recent past was coming out and making itself felt. A moment later, a message appeared on Laura's open page, The Dark Side of the Star, with a clickable link below it. Her face froze in horror. With a trembling hand, she clicked on the link and several photos opened. A photo of her half-naked embracing Rob. As it turned out, Jason had been watching the lovers for some time before he carried out his plan of vengeance. Took some pictures and videos. As painful as it was for him to watch because Laura was his greatest love, he still did it. The pain of disappointment was stronger. And now he intended to ruin the lives of those who betrayed him as well. "I want to give you what you deserve." Laura remembered Jason's words after the party when they were alone together after the guests had dispersed. She sank down on the bed, covering her mouth with her hand. Fear froze in her eyes, a tear rolled down her cheek. The girl began dialing her husband's number again, her hands trembled, and the phone almost fell out. "The caller is unavailable or inaccessible." The receiver sounded. This is the end, she thought. Her gaze flicked back to the open photo. The photo would make her lose everything now. Meanwhile, Rob was sitting in his cell. As the policeman on duty approached him. "Hey, you have a visitor." Rob, still hoping for some kind of miracle, looked up. Jason was standing in front of the camera. "Bro, there's some kind of misunderstanding here." "I don't understand it. I'm being accused of fraud." "I didn't do anything. You know me, bro." "Yeah," Jason answered wryly. I know you now." "But what?" "Jason, I need your help." "How else can I help you, Rob? You came here. I took you in. You were my brother, but you betrayed me." "Betrayed you? Betrayed me how? What did I do? Have you forgotten already?" Rob looked at his cousin and guessed what he was talking about, but the hope of a better outcome never left him. He'd forgotten all about the flirtation with Laura. It was the arrest situation that was worrying him. "You think about it. In a while, I'll ask you the same question," Jason went on. "There's nothing I can do for you right now." He turned and walked away. Since that night, it was like Jason had disappeared. No one had ever heard from him again. Laura was exhausted. She waited for her husband every night and prayed for his forgiveness and return. The blogger's career was ruined. The news with the compromising photos quickly went viral on the networks. For a while, she didn't leave the house. Still, some of her friends supported her and kept in touch with her. But still, life went downhill. Now the girl has changed her hair and works as a waitress in a cafe. And the only thing keeping her alive was the hope that after all, while everything would settle down and be forgotten. A year goes by. Rob went to jail for fraud. The lawyer couldn't help him. Everything pointed to Rob's guilt. He knew he'd been set up, but he had no idea who, and it was all Jason's own doing. Yes. He was so angry that he'd set it up in the most subtle way possible. 2 beloved family members had betrayed him, hurt him terribly. He couldn't live with that. He had to make them feel the same sense of loss as he once did. He wanted to make them suffer just as much. And he succeeded. Jason was the one who hired the hacker and funneled the money into the dummy account. After that, he set it up to make Rob look suspicious. His plan worked. Also hired by Jason, the hacker texted Laura and posted pictures of her on the networks. It wasn't the only photo that night of the breakup. From time to time, the girl received messages reminding her of what she had done, after which she couldn't sleep. Laura felt broken and abandoned. Often, she dialed her husband's number again and again, but still to no avail. Then one day a man walked into the cafe where she worked. The figure was very similar to her lover, but his hair was different, and he had a mustache and beard. And the look wasn't Jason's, but a total stranger's. A cold blank stare pierced through Laura. "Jason!" She cried out. But the man didn't react. He turned and walked away from the cafe. Laura ran after him, hoping to talk to him even for a minute. She wanted so badly to hug him again. But when she ran out the door, he was long gone. It was as if he hadn't existed at all. And Rob, serving his time, kept saying he was innocent, that he'd been set up. He demanded to change his lawyers. But everything was against him. One day he got a call, said he had a visitor. Thinking it was the lawyer again with the inconsolable news, Rob staggered into the visitor's room. His surprise was boundless, for Jason had appeared to him that day. His appearance was slightly different, but Rob recognized his cousin sitting on the other side of the glass, holding the phone in his hand, waiting for a relative. "Hello, bro." The inmate spoke in an already uncertain voice. "Hello. Now will you tell me why you betrayed me?" "But how? What did I do?" "My friendship wasn't enough for you. You needed Laura, too." Jason heard the two calm gaze filled with anger. Rob didn't know what to answer. He knew he'd made a terrible mistake. And now, looking at the cousin he'd betrayed, he understood why things had turned out this way. He understood who was behind his arrest, who had set him up. But he could prove nothing. Now all he had to do was spend a long time in jail. Jason, meanwhile, had left the city and everything that connected him to his past life forever. After that, no one ever saw him again. And Laura lost her blogging career and good income, becoming an objective shame for the whole town for years to come. Dear listeners, your support is very important to us. If you like our story, please like, comment, and subscribe. It's very motivating for us. We need your feedback to improve our content.